Hi, apologies. My little one, he woke up, so I had to go and take care of him. So quick recap. I'm reading this book for Lent, and I was briefly, you can probably hear him in the background. I apologize again. Talking about how Harden doesn't have proper relationships or with anyone. And one of the reasons for this is it's actually explained in chapter. So if anyone is reading this for college, I don't know whether it's going to be one of those books like The Handmaid's Tale that people may or may not read. I'm not sure. Chapter 44, page 229, where apparently it's actually common knowledge through people like Steph that he has night terrors. And again, that would explain why he's so possessive. It's like, you're not going to stay in my room, even if I'm not at my frat house or I'm at my dad's or I'm sleeping in my car or wherever he is at the time, which is probably explains why he's always up late, because he's probably, when he does sleep, it's through exhaustion as opposed to the fact that he felt safe to sleep. Now, there's a difference between insomnia, which I do suffer with myself, and not being able to sleep due to health problems such as mental health. And as I was trying to explain earlier, I hate sleeping with other people. It was always one of these in jokes with my family. I used to, as a child, I never had a room of my own till I was in my teens. So I was used to sharing a room with my siblings, and I hated it. I really, really hated it, because even now I can see why my children do not like sharing a room, because it's so annoying. If you're trying to sleep and somebody else is in the bed next to you, you can hear everything that they do, everything they say, every time they move, every time they breathe. And as a parent, I actually got quite neurotic about that. I always used to check on my children, I still do it now, to check that they are breathing, that they are still alive. But I wouldn't want someone to do that to me. I'd hate it. The thought of me trying to sleep and somebody watching me or staring at me or looking at me when I'm sleeping, it's always terrified me. And people say to me jokingly, well, how can you have children if you don't share a bed with somebody? And I'm like, well, you don't have to share a bed with someone to have children, And even like with my relationships and past relationships, it was one of the things that I always struggled with, and they struggled with myself. It would kind of get to that point where, like, I would pretend to be asleep, and then when they were asleep, I would go and sleep downstairs on the sofa, or I'd just leave. And then they'd phone me and be like, where are you? Are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, I've gone home. Why have you gone home for? It's like 2 a.m. And I'm like, because I want my own bed. I don't want to be sleeping with you. I don't know you that well. I don't trust you. And I think only on a few occasions when I have let my guard down and let people stay with me, it was quite petrifying. One of the guys I actually spent time with, being in Nuneaton, which a lot of the people end up joining the armed forces from small towns. And so a lot of the guys I spent time with when I was younger were in the military. And straight away that people in the armed forces don't sleep. I had this one guy, literally, the moment, I can't even remember what happened. There was just like this small noise, and I wasn't asleep myself either, because I don't really sleep. And all of a sudden, he just shot up out of the bed, and he kind of like, where am I? Who am I with? And the fear in his eyes, I could still see it now. And it's a very personal thing to share that kind of space with someone. So I think, again, this book isn't really for children. It's going to have to be for people who are a little bit older. And I think again, a lot of the negativity that's kind of homed in on it is like, how could she have a relationship with this person? He's absolutely insane, and it's like, yes, he has problems, but so does she. And then sometimes opposite attracts, and then sometimes it's familiarity breeds contempt. So the reason, and this has always been at the back of my mind since I started reading the book, that they are together is, yes, it's an unhealthy relationship. Yes, it's a toxic relationship, but they can relate. And it's through that being able to relate with one another that they have this relationship. And I don't think that that's shown enough in the film. I don't know about the other films, I've not seen them, and I've not read the other books. So I do think, as a book that's aimed at young people, the movie doesn't highlight enough. It's made it into this sort of flights of fantasy drama. Maybe it should have been a series, I don't know. Where she forgives him after everything that he does to her. Um, and that's shown in the movie. So I'm sorry if you haven't seen the movie already, but that's basically what happens. Um, but I've been told that's not how it ends in the book. But again, I've not read all the book yet. But again, it is, even she is saying to herself, why am I being this punching bag for this person? Why am I being wanting to be near him all the time? And I've seen programs about people who have ended up leaving toxic relationships. And usually you don't always leave straight away. People maybe won't leave for weeks or months or even years. And, there's so many stories out there of women and men who have probably stayed with somebody because they've got children. And yes, it's a toxic relationship, but they are more afraid of what could happen if they leave than actually live with the abuse that they're enduring. So, on one hand, it's kind of showing acceptance of staying in a domestic relationship that is unhealthy, which then obviously normalizes it. But on the other hand, it should be advising and educating people into saying, whoa, hang on a minute. If you start seeing these signs in a relationship, get out. Don't stay there. But usually, I watched a series recently called Maid, which has got Andy McDowell in and her daughter. And even in that series, the Women's Refuge actually said to the main character, it took me 5 attempts before officially leaving my partner. So she literally admitted, even though being a trained counsellor, which is what she ended up doing with her life, she went back to her partner 5 times, even though she knew in the back of her head that she shouldn't do it, it's not safe, it's unhealthy. This time he may even, not put me in hospital, he might even kill me. She still went back 5 times. And I've spoken to and have had friends from different ethnicities as well. So again, divorce is still such a taboo subject. And I spoke to this one woman, and she said, I'm Muslim. In my culture, you don't divorce. I didn't want to divorce my husband. It wasn't just about losing my family, it was about losing my sense of pride in my community, it was about losing my friends, it was about feeling I couldn't go to my mosque, I wouldn't be able to go to my community centres. She felt so guilty that if she divorced her husband, that all the blame and everything would be on her, even though she did eventually leave him. And when I met her, she was divorced. And she said, 10 years, 10 years, I was married to him. I endured it. I had children with him who were obviously in their teens by then. He would beat me, he would, abuse me mentally and physically. But I didn't want to leave. And one of the things we have near where I live in Coventry is called I think it's, hopefully I say it correctly, it's called the Sahara Project, which is actually a women's refuge. Hopefully they're still running. They were years ago, for women in Asian cultures to meet, greet, chat, And if they do feel they have to leave the relationship, we'll help them. And it's knowing, like I've said, and I keep saying, where to turn, where to go, who do you talk to? Because if you don't have that outlet, if you don't have that support, then you're not going to be able to feel like there is an option to leave. And at the moment, I don't even think that's really mentioned in the book. I mean, they're at college together, so they do have a choice. I mean, she could choose to leave college, go somewhere else. But again, if you do that, how is that going to affect the rest of your life? So, again, people will stay in a relationship, stay in a workplace, whatever, because the thought of having to start again sometimes feels worse. So, I will continue with this book and I will blog again about it tomorrow. Thank you.